Life Audio.
My favorite quote of all time, like on my wall, is from Peter Pan when he says, "But what if I fall?" And he goes, "Oh, but what if you fly?"
Welcome to episode 28 of the Get Your Brave On podcast with Bart Millard for Mercy Me on how to take risks to chase down the life you've always wanted. You know, no matter what plot twist you're going through today, I know this will encourage you to push through fear and get to that next step in life. And I'm here to help. Don't miss any of the Get Your Brave On podcast episodes designed to help you through all the plot twists of life. Subscribe on the platform you're listening on today and leave a review, and I'll shout you out like KT Mack. Thank you so much. He said, practical and real. Get Your Brave On is an inspiration to me. I can relate to Amanda and her guests on so many levels. Her spiritual journey is similar to mine in that she grew up going to church every Sunday, but didn't truly develop a relationship with God until she was down on her knees as a mom. Listening to her weekly podcast ignites fire and determination in my soul to further my trust and relationship with God. Girl, I am honored, and to continue to share my story with others. KT Mack, I love you, girl. Thank you for that review. I would love to shout you out in the next episode. And if you want to go deeper, love for you to sign up to be one of my Brave Babes. I will send you daily encouragement. Plus, you can get my free Brave Life morning planner. It's a morning routine designed to help you boot up your Brave for free. Download it at getyourbraveon.info. I'm so excited. Mercy Me is on the Get Your Brave On podcast today. I'm Bart Millard. Barry Groff, thank you so much for coming. What's happening?
Oh, not much. Just talking about music.
Well, I talk music. I talk other things too. I am kind of obsessed with trying to obey this command that God has given us to live a strong and courageous life. Because I realized He doesn't say, hey, it's an option. It might be a good idea for you to be strong and courageous. He says, have I not commanded you? So I love to start every podcast off kind of going deep. Are you okay with this? Are we comfortable with this?
Of course. Sure.
Okay. So you can answer this question in two ways. What is the bravest thing you've done lately? Or if you're really brave, like we do in the Get Your Brave On podcast, what's the bravest thing you feel like you've done in your life?
I don't know.
You had kids.
I do have kids. I have 5 kids.
That's brave.
Yeah, teenagers. Let them drive me around. That was incredibly brave. Might as well have been bungee jumping. Gosh, what's the bravest thing? For me would be the moment that I took a break from college to start Mercy Me. I was petrified and thought I'd made a massive mistake, much like the rest of my family thought I probably made a big mistake. But just knew it's something I had to do and wasn't good at college.
You know what?
I don't think I realized, what year in college were you when you decided
Still sophomore.
You're still sophomore. Okay, that's awesome.
Semester off. I took a gap 2 decades, a gap 20 years.
So did you have anyone in your life when you were making that brave decision that tried to talk you out of it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The biggest thing was, I wanted to sing. I wasn't pursuing it because back then it was like, you want to be we barely had Star Search. Like it wasn't even American Idol or whatever. And so to say that, you want to make a living at that. And so people were like, they knew I liked to sing, but it was about going to college was about having a plan B, become an accountant, become a teacher, whatever, nothing against those. And I just thought I'm going to be in debt for a long time for something that I really hope I never do. And so a lot of people, they didn't say I couldn't make it, just like, man, that sounds hard. You should do this. And my grandmother, who named the band, told me, Mercy Me, get a real job, was the one that was like, she was paying for my college. She goes, you can have every dime that you're going to use for college if this is really what you want to do to try to start this band. And so, and she was incredibly supportive. And she was like, I don't want to pay for something you're not passionate about. And so go after it. And between her and my dad before he passed away, it was like, there's nothing you can't do was all I needed to hear. And so, but it was still, I was petrified. I was like, man, it's last couple weeks ago was our 28th anniversary, or 28 years we've been doing it. And yeah, it's like, I would have never dreamed of what it's become. I thought, man, if I could do this for a few years and tell my kids stories of old, or I don't know, but I can't believe I'm still doing it.
Are you still kind of petrified sometimes?
Yeah, it just depends on what it is. I'm more confident in the studio. I still get nervous going on stage. But it's a different kind of thing. I get nervous if I'm unprepared is the big thing. And so like the beginning of tours still stresses me out, but, no, it's different. It's like, somewhere along the way, we've learned to enjoy it. It's been the same guys for so long that they're like a security blanket. I don't know how solo acts do it, but, but yeah, it's a different kind of nervous, it's different. Everything's different there's a lot more at stake now with families and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you've got a lot of people depending on you. What about you, Barry? Bravest thing? What you got?
Probably moving to Nashville in 1988 from Baltimore to pursue music. Only knew one person here and just felt the tug to move to Nashville, just like a lot of people do. I was playing music in Baltimore and I just felt like I needed to move to Nashville to broaden everything. And so, yeah, I just packed up everything and moved and, it worked out.
Man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's the short version.
The band that would change your life wasn't even a band for 6 more years.
Think about that.
Crazy. He's played for, everyone, literally everyone.
Yeah.
We met him when he was playing for Toby Mac and he had done it so faithfully. What year did you join Mercy Me?
2003. Almost 20 years.
Wow. But we were on tour together and this guy had the biggest heart on the planet. And he said his only regret was that he never really owned something. He was always the session player or the hired whatever. And we were like, man, you've done it this long. You're not jaded. And so we weren't looking for a band member. We just needed Barry around. So we made room for him and went from a 5-piece to a 6-piece at the time.
You want to hug?
That's good.
No, not yet.
Okay.
So many people, I know I've been there in my life where you're just on the fence of making a decision and you're at that place in life that you think, should I go the safe route? And that's okay. Sometimes we got to go the safe route, I think.
Sure.
Or should I make the decision and say, I'm going to go for this dream and this thing that God is calling me to do? What would you say to someone who's maybe at that point going, do I go for this God thing? Do I trust him to go for this dream that I want in my life? Like, how do I just make that moment of drastic action and say, I'm moving to Nashville or I'm quitting college and I'm doing my thing? What is that God moment that can propel them?
A guy I grew up in church with, much older than me, kind of a mentor just at church for a lot of people. He just told me one time, he said, just kick the door open until God closes it. And so that was always my, what I went for. I just, he's like, if God's going to, pave your way, then he's going to pave your way. If not, he's going to change direction.
What's funny is my advice is a little bit opposite of that. My advice was, my best friend's dad was a pastor and I was in high school and I thought I was being called into ministry, not exactly what that looked like. And he told me, he goes, if you can do anything else, do it. He goes, his whole point was because we need people that cannot walk away from it. Not that it sounds like a fun thing to do or whatever. He goes, you'll know when it's like, you can't shake that desire. And he's like, we don't want anybody that's half-heartedly into this. Like, so if there's any room for something else you might want to do, you might want to pursue it because this is life changing for not only you, but other people. And he's like, and you'll know, it's like, I remember, gosh, when I was engaged, it's like we had no money and I was asking her, when I asked my in-laws if I could marry their daughter, I didn't have anything. And I was that whole living on love stuff. And they were like, how are you going to support her? I was like, I have no idea, but I know I can't live without her. And it's that kind of attitude of like, you'll know. It's like, and so it's like, you just can't shake it when it's in something you're called to do or whatever. And it's people ask all the time, like stuff like, hey, I want to do what you do. Like we've heard that for years, like college age students or whatever. Like, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, if I knew, I'd write a book and make a ton of money. But I said, the biggest advice I would give them is, cause they'd always say, well, I'm in this little worship band, but I'm waiting for, whatever to come. And I was like, man, stop treating it like a stepping stone. The truth is that God has raised you up for right now. And you may be in front of a crowd of 10 or 10,000, but I'm not. No one else is. That's your moment. And and treat it as such. And you'll be amazed at the other opportunities you'll be given, but don't just overlook it waiting for something and like blowing it off like it's not a big deal. It's the biggest deal because it's right in front of you right now. And man, I just heard a podcast the other day and the guy was talking about, this is random. It was really inspiring to me. He was talking about how, quit trying to be original. If you're yourself, you're the only one. You're already original. And anyway, I thought that was cool advice. But.
That is good. It shouldn't be an effort, like right? to be original, right?
Yeah.
Just
the
like
to be like everybody else. And yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like in the church, you know, growing up in such a conservative environment myself, I remember feeling like I had to fit into like the culture when I really didn't. But God needs us to be the original version that he created instead of working to fit in some kind of subculture. Yeah. Because the massive culture needs you. Do you ever run out of different ways to sing about Jesus?
That was a struggle. After the movie came out, which was interesting, because I feel like myself included, everybody had enough of Mercy Me is what it felt like. Like it was just kind of everywhere and I was kind of annoyed by it. And we were supposed to start working on another record and man, I was stumped. I had nothing to write about and I couldn't figure it out, like dreading going to the studio, which is my happy place. And my manager of all people was like, man, I can tell you why you're that way. And he was like, you know, you lament very well. He goes, the songs that are important to you have come out of dark places or things you've gone through. And he's like, for once in your life, everything's okay. Like you've got more than you could ever dream has happened with healthy kids and an amazing marriage and it's like, it's okay to have a season to where it's like, you know, like he was right. For me to write something in that time felt like I was manufacturing suffering, if that makes sense. And it felt fake. And so like Inhale, Exhale, that was the first time in my life that I'd ever found inspiration through other people's stories, like Say I Won't with our friend Gary, who lost his arms and his legs. And I'd never done that before. And so it was kind of shifting gears, but there was a moment where it was like, I don't know where I'm going to get the inspiration and didn't know how to describe it until my manager he explained it. He was spot on. It was like, I was kind of happy and writing is a hard thing for me and I didn't want to go there. And so yeah, I just had to kind of shift gears and figure that out and we're good now.
It's good. It's okay to write from a happy place. I remember, a recent call to my father and going, Dad, you know, it's like things feel weird. Like, cause I got through 3 kids and teenagers during the pandemic and all of this stuff. And I was looking around. I was like, what is this feeling? He goes, this is called normal. It's very weird for you. What do you do when you're like, okay, I'm in this. I want to impact people's lives. We've got Always Only Jesus coming out. We're playing your new song. Is it that you had more to say or is it that you have a mission that you want someone to know with this new album?
I think it's and both a little bit. Yeah, for us, Inhale, Exhale during the pandemic was kind of a lane change for us. When the pandemic happened, everybody got off the road. Every artist went to social media to stay in touch with their fans. And so we were seeing like 10 to 20 of these gut wrenching emotional performances online daily. It was like watching The Notebook like 20 times a day. And it was like, man, I can't cry anymore. And so we were like, maybe we should try to get people to laugh or dance or smile. And so we were trying to wrap up an album. Pandemic happens. The label's like, well, we're not going to release now. No one's doing anything. And so, you know, what ended up being like 15 months, we ended up writing like 30 or 40 more songs. And then we found ourselves, I guess it was intentional. It didn't feel like that, but we started pushing aside all the power ballads and the stuff that I feel like everything was saturated with that at the time. And we were more into writing a disco song with Gloria Gaynor and just anything that'd make you dance or just another approach at this we wanted to do. And so we finished Inhale, Exhale. We put it out there. And then, I gauged time by what album came out. Like my son was born during Bring the Rain or Coming Out to Breathe or whatever. And so that's the COVID record. And, we waited forever, finally toured the album. I think we did 2 short tours and then we were just ready to move on. Like everything's starting to try to get back to normal. That album served its purpose and it had so many songs left. And we noticed that beginning with Then Christ Came, which was supposed to be on that album, and we pulled it off on purpose because we thought we already had our singles picked and we wanted it to be a single. So when the album was done, we were going to do a short EP around Then Christ Came. And what started as an EP became a full album, because what we noticed was, man, I've never seen the body of Christ more divided than it has been through the whole pandemic. And I now start seeing people kind of walking back things they may have said during that time, that, and it's a really interesting season. And you can either kind of keep explaining the stances you believe in or don't believe in or whatever, but is that healing or is that creating more of a wedge? And it was like, man, what unifies us? Because that's the thing we need more than anything. And we just kept going back to, it has to be about Jesus. Like, I'm okay with disagreeing with you if we both truly believe we're trying to honor the name of Jesus, because we may have different approaches. That's why I'm a Baptist and there's nothing. I mean, if we have different opinions, but if we're pursuing Christ, I'm okay with that. And so that's when we realized, man, this album, like God With Us and You Reign and all of creation stuff over the years, this feels more like older, or just kind of more what Mercy Me's DNA is about. And we wrote Always Only Jesus, thought that should be the title, because that's where we're going to agree. That's where we're going to unite the body, is if we go back to the basics and talk about how this has to be all about Jesus or we're in trouble. And even the artwork, everything is so plain and simple, and from beginning to end, every song is like, I'm careful not to say like it's a worship album, because I know that's a very popular thing right now, but it's just what Mercy Me's done for 20 something years. And whether it's something that the body of Christ can sing corporately or whatever, it still points towards the most important thing, which is Christ.
I love that. I know we're running out of time, but I just had a thought. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but watching everything about Queen Elizabeth II and her funeral and how she unified everybody, I'm hoping this is a momentum shift. Did you feel like that?
Yeah. I guess it's weird because, I mean, I got more emotional than I ever thought I would. And I think because the only unifiers, sadly, that you can think of in past usually have to do with war or massive tragedy like 9/11 or a hurricane, right, whatever. And even though it's heartbreaking that she passed away, there was something beautiful about that. Even if it's for a split second, who knows how long, I'm sure we'll find something to gripe about soon. But for that moment, it was just beautiful to you talk about it. It seems like a life well lived, and to be in that spotlight for that long. And to, it's kind of like Billy Graham in some ways, to where it's like, I'm sure she has her demons or whatever, but, but to be able to maintain it to where people still think so fondly of her, it was beautiful, man. Like I was watching something last night and they played a couple of her quotes of things she said during the pandemic about how we'll be together again with family and stuff. And I was like, man, this is insane.
My wife and I laid on the couch yesterday and watched probably 3-4 hours of it. It was incredible. It was absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to see the people that turned out to support, and grieve, I guess.
Yeah. The pomp and circumstance of it was amazing. Like,
I've never seen anything like that.
It was like it was a funeral fit for a queen.
Imagine that. Nice. Yeah.
Last night.
Great. So closing thoughts. I always like to inspire my listeners to make a brave decision and to trust God, because that's the promise of the command to be strong and courageous. He says, but I'll go with you wherever you go. So do you have anything for the listeners about, you've taken risks and God gave you this awesome ministry because he was with you in that moment of being strong and courageous. Would you have anything to say to someone that's in that moment that's just going, man, this could all work out or this could all fall apart? What do I do?
I mean, I think that's it. It could all work out or it could fall apart. Mm-hmm. But, Jesus is always going to have your back, whichever way it goes.
Yeah, we have the first song on the album is called Hands Up, and the whole thing is about me trying to write songs about him this long and the frustration of I can't capture him. Like, he's just so big. And then, part of the thing says it feels like I'm trying to hold every drop of the ocean in a paper cup. It's just not going to work. But then the beautiful thing of it is like, man, hands up if you are so stinking grateful that we can't capture him, and we can't describe him because there's so much beauty in the unknown of how big he is, and how fun would it be to know every step of our journey? That wouldn't be fun at all. That would be like you going, this is what normal life is, just sitting still. And so like there's a reason that, people that do these crazy things, it's exhilarating. It brings life when you don't, it's that fear of the unknown. I mean, some people are paralyzed by it, but once you break through it, it brings so much life. And so, man, it's just, that's kind of what faith is not understanding it all and just taking that step. And it's exhilarating. It's nerve wracking. It gets the blood flowing. It's a big part of living.
I like it. It reminds me of that scene from the movie Parenthood. It's a really old scene. And the grandma is talking about, I like the roller coaster.
When I was 19, Grandpa took me on a roller coaster.
Oh?
Up, down, up, down. Oh, what a ride.
What a great story.
I always wanted to go again. It was just interesting to me that a ride could make me so frightened, so scared, so sick, so excited and so thrilled all together. Some didn't like it. They went on the merry-go-round. That just goes around. Nothing. I like the roller coaster. You get more out of it.
My favorite quote of all time, on my wall, is from Peter Pan when he says, "But what if I fall?" And he goes, "Oh, but what if you fly?"
Man, I don't know about you, but I feel like really empowered to chase down a dream right now. The new Mercy Me album is called Always Only Jesus. I hope you enjoyed a little sneak peek of it. Comes out October 21st. You can check out their music anywhere where you stream music, any Christian radio station like mine, 1039 The Fish, and at mercyme.org. And if you're ready to chase down that dream, man, I would love to help you. Sign up to be one of my Brave Babes and download my free Brave Morning Planner. You will have a specific plan every day to boot up your bravery and chase down that dream. And go a step further and sign up for my Brave Coaching Plan. You and me, one-on-one, every week, chasing down that dream together, because that's God's plan. He commands us to be strong and courageous, and He promises to go with us wherever we go. So you and I, we should be with each other. Subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode, and please leave your review. And thanks to my friends at lifeaudio.com. Check them out. They have all kinds of podcasts, inspiration, Bible study, prayers, and parenting at lifeaudio.com. And get your brave on.